Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Jonah and the Pod. Today, we have two very special guests. They've both been on the podcast before. One of them is related to me, and the other one is semi-related to me. Please welcome my sister and my brother-in-law, Jeanette and Ralph.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
So today is going to be a fun conversation, I think, for most. The forbidden conversation, I think, amongst a lot of people. But we're going to be talking about relationships, and since you guys are maybe since you guys are newlyweds, we'll go through the beginning to where you are, I guess, now. I think to start, do you guys want to just? I'm trying to think. Talk about marriage a little bit, not fully, but just how you guys met and all that kind of stuff.
What are you asking?
Both of you.
You want to go?
No, you can go. You lead, you're the man.
I shared a bit in the last podcast on how we met and how it came to happen. So I just moved into Sydney. I had been here a couple of months. I had been in Sydney before, and I was just winging it. So I was just praying about my visit, next steps, and COVID happened. We got locked up. Was able to be out. Basically, only one of the very few ways we could socialize was via online dating. I was single, on the market, looking to start something new, and I bumped into Jeanette. She messaged me, so I responded, and yeah.
I had to say that.
We ended up dating. From a fundamental perspective, she ticked all the boxes. It wasn't love at first sight. It was, that's the kind of person with the qualities that I want to be with. And then we started hanging out more. Due to the lockdown, we were forced to talk a lot. So we couldn't go to the movies or go to dinner and be, proper. It was more of going on hikes, going on walks, going on picnics. They're very basic. And to be honest, I think that was the best part of the dating experience. That, simplified version of a date puts you in a situation where all you can do is talk about yourself, the other person, your lives together, and get to know each other better. And fast forward, I proposed, we got married, and we're living happy, I say. Not ever after, because there's still a lot to come, but marriage wasn't like we see in the movies. We get married, it's all fun and clouds. Obviously, when you first move into someone and get used to the flow of how things changes, how things work, and we've adjusted, and I'm very happy married to my wife.
You'd hope.
You'd
hope.
Yeah.
I'm happy as well. Get her out of the house.
I think for me, unlike Ralph, I actually wasn't looking to see anybody. I ended up on the dating site as support for somebody else who asked me to do so, and I had no intention to be in a relationship because I had that part of my mind kind of switched off for a long time. But yeah, it was pretty quickly that we decided we'll just catch up. And then, I remember leaving the date and thinking, well, there's nothing I can really find wrong in him. So they were definitely like the people we were back then are not the people we are now. We've grown significantly.
So now you can see what's wrong with him.
Yeah, now I can see. Well, no, the things that you would like see back then that maybe weren't the ideal situations, you have to look past them and say, okay, but how do the fundamental things like fit? And then those things that I don't necessarily love, are they things that are going to change, or are they things that are going to be deal breakers? And there were no deal breakers. And I saw past a lot of what people would call issues. I didn't really see them as issues. I just saw them as like, this is just his situation, and I saw his potential. That was the biggest thing for me. I saw the potential in the relationship, and I saw the potential in him.
That's good. I think we can talk about I have a question for that, but I'll save it for later. So remind me if I don't say the question. But before we get there, I think a struggle that a lot of people would have these days is to understand when they're ready to be in a relationship. So my question to you guys, how did you know you were ready to be in a relationship? Did you know, or did it just happen? Like you just said, like you weren't really looking, but like I don't know if you guys have any answers to this question, but is there like a formula or something?
I'll go and you can jump in if you want, because we have different stories.
Thank you.
So I, for a very long time, I knew that I wasn't ready. It wasn't about am I ready? I knew I wasn't ready, and I wasn't interested because I had other like desires that would keep me away from being in a relationship. So my main priority was traveling and growing myself through travel. So while I was traveling, like I had no desire to be in a relationship. It was like that part of me was just switched off, and I felt that. Like I never felt it turn back on, but I think the COVID situation and being forced to sit still, it just made me open to it. But I didn't feel like, okay, I'm now I desperately need to be in a relationship. I just knew when I definitely wasn't ready to be in a relationship, and then I had to really like learn myself and learn about myself and learn that I could be by myself, and like along that process I learned what I wanted and what I didn't want. And obviously you like talk to people, and you maybe go on a few dates or whatever it is, and you pick up the things you like or you don't like, or that I do want this in a future partner, I don't want this. You learn those things. But I don't think there was like a moment where I was like, okay, now I'm ready. It was just my circumstances plus a combination of just knowing when I wasn't ready.
So you knew you were ready when?
I don't know if I knew I was ready, but I think when I went out with you, there was no reason. I had no feeling like, no, there was no like, nah, this is not right. Whereas with other people, I'm like, no, it's not right.
What about you, Ralph? What do you think?
I mean, having traveled around, and obviously this wasn't my first or this is my relationship, but I've had some before.
What?
Yeah. Sorry.
Imagine.
I forgot to tell you. So it's with time, you learn what you want and don't want, and some may agree or some may disagree, but you get to a point where you know what you want and don't want. That's from being ready to know what you want to get into, and in perspective of how do you know you're being ready for a relationship. I mean, if you got your stuff together, you've built your base. You know what you want. You're self-sufficient, and then you're ready to partner up with someone to team up and build a future together. That's basically the basics about being ready. I see a lot of ambitious younger people ask me similar questions, and my response is always, I want to be in a relationship with someone. And they say I want to be in a relationship with someone. Or, I'm looking forward to start a relationship, and my question is always, why would someone want to be with you in a nice way? So if you're looking to be with someone, why would that someone want to be with you? Are you built up and ready and have what it takes to lead a relationship or follow in a relationship? And then, once you have all these prerequisites or basics covered and you know what you want, I think that's when you're ready.
Yeah, it's a good good answer. What what about so I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and I've sort of come to the conclusion, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think being ready is understanding that you're not going to be ready. But I think it's a difficult one because like Jenna said, she knew she wasn't ready, but I'm trying to
yeah, you will never be ready for, you might not ever be ready for that relationship because you don't know what it's going to be like. And it's not like it's more about being ready as a person. It's about like your individual. It's that whole thing of it's not two people bringing 50% to make a whole. It's two people bringing 100% of themselves to make it a new 100% together. It's building yourself, knowing yourself, learning about yourself, being ready within yourself that you are independent, you're traveled, you don't necessarily like have traveled the world, but you know what's around. It's what I said in our last podcast. Like, you have to know what's outside of your bubble. I don't think Ralph and I would be together if either of us had lived in a little bubble of our own world and didn't know what was outside.
So would you say that you not being ready was just you not sort of understanding the world enough? Or?
Yeah, it wasn't just the world, it was also myself. Like,
yeah.
I didn't just travel the world to see the world. I traveled the world to learn about myself. And I needed to learn how I could be independent, how I could manage money, how I could look after my own safety, how I could deal with stress. This is just like travel as an example. But you build all of these characteristics so that when you go into a relationship, you are ready. You're not necessarily ready to be in that specific relationship, but you're ready to deal with stresses. You're ready to deal with like planning. You're ready to deal with having someone else's stresses in your life because you've already managed how to deal with your own. I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it. Like, unless you get yourself ready and you know yourself and you are strong in yourself, then you have no place to put someone else in your life. It's just like you're disadvantaging that person if you can't really have that independence. Do you agree or not? I feel like you don't agree.
No, I mean, every person has a different way of feeling they're ready, but a lot of times, and this is said very often, you know you're ready when you find the right person. That's very common. I'm talking about myself. I'm not saying like, oh, you found me and then you were ready, but sometimes it takes finding the right person. They could subconsciously make you feel ready, or you can then realize that actually, no, this is something that I think is good for me. And then you decide, okay, so now I'm going to put travel aside, or I'm going to be ready now. So
I didn't put travel aside. I just made you come with me.
We're both stuck in here anyway. But yeah.
Interesting. I think it's such a tough situation because I think God will equip you for the situation. Like, and you sort of just like, rather than learning within 5 years, you learn within
100%.
now.
Like I said, I didn't think that I was ready for a relationship, but everything just fit. Like, obviously it was God's plan that I met him at that time when my mind was off the idea of traveling. I know I talk about it so much because that was like part of my identity. So by switching off that part of my mind and then putting me in this like situation, it was definitely God's hand. I do not think I was ready in my mind. I didn't think I was ready, but obviously I was. But we had a lot of learning to do, especially at the beginning, like significant learning because of that idea that I actually wasn't really ready for a relationship and Ralph was. And so I thought I could just live not a single life, but it was, do you know what I'm talking about? Like at the beginning, we really struggled with me adapting to the fact that now we're in a relationship. And what does that look like for us? Because I had such a different mentality about relationships. And then we had to kind of nut that out together because I wasn't ready. But he helped me become ready, I guess.
That's why for me, it wasn't love at first sight. It was not trying to be awkward, but it wasn't very lovey-dovey and all these emotions at the beginning. It was very it was cold. It was a bit just
classic
starting very slow. It was different for me and it was new for Jeanette. So that's why we both, without having agreed on, just happened, and we figured it out later that we're both just looking at fundamentals and realizing that this is a godly person. They come from a good family, good background, and they tick the other boxes that that's the kind of person I like, they like, etc. And then emotions kind of like started to burn up and develop. So I guess that's why I was saying it wasn't like, oh, someone love and date number 3, I want to marry you. I wasn't there at all. It was just realizing from my side that I'm ready and that's the right person for me. And from Jonah, I believe what you're trying to say is, you weren't ready, but then you realized that this is someone I can be with and I feel that this is a good fit. And then
100%. And just on that note, because I know I was talking to someone about this, I don't remember who it was, and they asked about the idea of attraction. And like, we obviously had some level of attraction, but it's really important to know that that grows. Like, you can't go into this idea of I want to date somebody with this like perfectly planned map of what someone is going to look like, or down to the color of their eyes and how they would dress and all those things. Like, that stuff changes. That is so superficial. We do not dress like we used to dress. Although right now it's pretty much how we dressed when we first met.
Yeah, I was
wearing like active
I don't think I can see you what you're wearing, but
and he was wearing something nice when
Yeah,
we first.
I was cold overdressed because I was wearing jeans and a
The
t-shirt.
first thing I said to him when I met him was, "You're overdressed," and that's
Yeah.
been the foundation of our relationship.
Yeah, I think the one of the big early stages, it wasn't a clash, but it was culturally. I was born and raised in Lebanon. I spent 5 years in Texas, and then I was in Dubai for a while, for 3 years. And moving to Sydney from Dubai, having adapted to a superficial lifestyle where you don't go out in public if you're not, I'm saying dressed up, but like, people don't go out in trackies and stuff. So for me, jeans and a t-shirt is underdressed. And
Yeah,
I
we had
didn't
some
want to
cultural
I didn't want to rock up in like a linen shirt and fancy shoes. I was just like, I was doing whatever I have,
you guys just went for like a walk, right?
Yeah, just
Because COVID times.
So that's one of the many things. At the beginning, there was very some differences in culture. Now, there weren't massive differences. Another example would be, so what are we planning the next couple of days? And if there's nothing planned, I'm like, wait, there should be something planned. I can't just wing it. But then from Jenna's perspective, she was like, just chill, take it easy, we'll figure it out. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this isn't normal. And then fast forward, I got used to that laid back culture where we'll figure it out. And then so
the Aussie way.
Yeah, the Aussie way. There's a lot of adapting and molding that happens. You can't go on a single date with somebody and be like, unless there are, again, fundamental issues, and just write someone off. Like, if they are ticking those non-negotiables, then like, happy days, see where it goes. I think the thing with like deal breakers or non-negotiables is you have to look at that list that you've mentally created and say, why is this thing on my list and why do I consider it a non-negotiable? I think we have these like non-negotiable deal breaker lists that are outrageous.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah.
Like, what would be a what would it be a fundamental and non-fundamental? So just answered it. It's like personal, isn't it?
Yeah, every single person is going to be different. Like, for me, just because of who I was, an almost a deal breaker would be someone who hasn't traveled or was not willing to travel. Like, it's some people might be like, no, that's not a deal breaker. But for me, because I didn't want to be someone who's stuck in my box, I need to see the world. I need to go out. And so that was one of those ones where you have to actually consider, is this really a deal breaker for me? And then there are other things like, Christianity. They're like, that is a fundamental
must.
Yeah, there's a must. And it's not just like basic Christian, it's like it has to be an active Christian. And then you go back, why is that a deal breaker for me? Well, because the Bible says so. So you have to kind of create that list and then go through it and like review it. Why is that thing on my list? Because you don't want to have something on there that's like dresses well or has hair. Like, those things they're not deal breakers, because attraction grows and you can change the way someone dresses. They're not deal breakers. And if let's say you want someone that's like physically like fit and muscly and whatever, but they're not, well then is that a deal breaker because you're concerned that they're that they don't look good, or you're concerned that they don't care about their health, and then you think about the longevity of their lives and your lives together, and how like you have to think about why is that thing on my list. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, you made a good point about people writing relationships off, and this is part of being ready for a relationship. And what we see I've seen it everywhere I've been, but I've seen it very, very often in our culture here in Sydney, where the younger generation write relationships or people off too often or too soon. Not too soon, not too often. Sorry. I guess part of being ready is being ready to put your list aside, and then finding a person. For some reason, you end up going out with them. They ask, or you're interested, or you feel attracted for whatever reason. I don't think it's right to write them off too soon because of deal breakers that aren't really deal breakers. And part of the many reasons behind that is the availability of, back in the days, parents would, from some traditions, parents might, hook up a guy and a girl they know would fit, or other countries, it's not as available as today in terms of the what social media has gotten into society today in terms of finding people online, in terms of travel is a lot more frequent now. There's a lot more people can travel today. So comparing 50, 100 years ago with today, there's a lot more availability. So the younger generation today realizes if I don't like this person, there's 10 others that I can look into. So that creates this habit of writing relationships off or people off, even sometimes before even getting to know them from a first, second date.
Do you think people have like an image in their mind of someone, and if they go on a date with someone, or like they're looking at someone and they don't reach that image that they have in their mind, it's just like they're writing it off?
100%. Yeah.
Definitely. And wanting to be with someone because of, growing up, I remember when I was a teenager, the boys would, this guy would say, "Oh, I want a girl with a curly hair and blue eyes." And I'm like, "Oh, I want a blonde with green eyes." And the other guy was like, "I want this and that."
You got a blonde with green eyes. Nice.
I wasn't talking about me.
Oh.
What's that?
You just said I wanted a blonde with green eyes.
I was saying what the boys were saying.
Ah.
Yeah. So everyone was saying, what they.
Well, where's your friend that wanted the blonde with green eyes?
He's taken.
Huh. Unlucky.
Dang it.
So at that point, what we thought was a good fit for us was, depending on how people look. Honestly, we had to put all that aside because if everyone looks back and compares what they wanted when they were younger with what they or who they're with today, I might be wrong, but in most cases, I think it's very different. Like I never imagined I'd be in Australia with,
this
brown, red, blonde hair.
Red? Did you say red hair?
Where's the red? It's brown and blonde.
The lighting.
But it's exactly the same as me. If you told me I was going to marry a Lebanese guy, I would have laughed in your face. Like that was my number one. That was a deal breaker. That was one of my things that was on my list. And I was like, why is being Lebanese a deal breaker? And then I had to go back and think about, well, it's not about them being Lebanese. It was about sort of cultural things that racist. I didn't agree with. And
yeah.
No, not racist. But it was about cultural things that I didn't.
Just to clarify, we're Lebanese as well.
Yeah. It's not about like, it was about certain cultural aspects that didn't line up with what I wanted in a person. And then when I realized, well, not Lebanese doesn't equal that culture. Yeah. So then I could actually eliminate that. Well, it's fine. And I love the fact that he's Lebanese because we have these cultural things that link us. We have the language that hopefully he will teach our children. We can,
of course,
we can travel. We were in Lebanon and we got to see each other's families. Like there's advantages to it. So something that I thought was a deal breaker ended up being
a benefit.
A benefit. Something that I actually really admire in our relationship.
That's cool.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say, basically, if we just go back to that list of, I want this, forget about it. As a Christian, I ended up with Jeanette, and looking back, this is in no way the kind of the person I imagine I'll be with. I'm a permanent resident here and I'm about to become a citizen. I never imagined I'd be in Australia for my entire life. What God has set in front of us, the plan, is one thing, and that what we have planned out could be completely different. So I think at this point we need to rely on or submit our lives and not rely, just accept the wisdom of God, accept that God has a plan. But doesn't mean just let it go and just sit on your couch and wait for things to happen. But God has a plan for us, and He knows what's good and bad for us. It's good for us to have ambitions, but at some point we need to let God guide us as well and give Him control over some situations. And then from personal experience, when God steers and drives, you end up in good places.
It's true.
Sorry, Jonah, I'm going to say something, but I want to like reiterate something that you said that I really like. It's you can't just sit on the couch and expect it to happen. Like, yes, my circumstance and how I ended up on a date with Ralph wasn't necessarily my own actions, but I think that was a bit of a crazy fate sort of situation, God hands kind of situation. But you can't complain about not having a boyfriend or a girlfriend when you're not willing to go out and find yourself a boyfriend or girlfriend. Like,
so this is actually leads on to the next question. But it will be interesting from both the man and the woman, your takes on how to approach or how to, like, before you're in a relationship, how to approach a relationship or ask someone out, or I don't know, just either say yes or no. Like, what are the
have you met Ted?
That's one way. And Jeanette
that's a
knows,
wingman. That's not like
Yeah, get yourself a wingman.
a wingman is one way. If this it's a really good question, and it's not something easy to get used to.
Ralph, what would you tell Jonah if he was interested in a girl?
We'll get to that.
How would you tell him to go out?
I'll answer your
He's
question
building it
with
up.
what I'm about to say. So, a very recent example, and Jeanette knows the story. Someone I hold dearly to my heart calls me or texts me, and we're chatting, and it's like, yeah, there's this girl that I like at the office, and I think she's beautiful, she's cute, but I don't know, like, I'm waiting to ask her out. I'm like, so how long have you had a crush on her? I was like, oh, like quite some time. And I was like, well, text her right now and ask her out. And he was like, no, I don't think, like, I don't know, and I'll wait and see. I was like, listen, you wait and see, someone else is gonna come and grab her. Like, you get an opportunity, take it right now, or you risk it being taken, with someone else. So they ended up texting that person on the spot, and they went on a date that same week. So what I'm trying to say is, if you like someone, it's not going to be easy to just get up and approach them, and you may need to find the right time. It's going to be awkward if they're with their friend and you come to them saying they're going to talk to you for a sec or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's going to find the right time, find the right attitude, the right approach. But it's sometimes overthought. People sometimes overthink it, and a lot of people are too scared of rejection. If done right, it's very simple. If you like someone, there's ways to approach them and let them know that you'd like to ask them out. And then the response is either going to be yes or no. And in many cases, you're not going to just ask someone out just because you were walking, you saw them, and then you liked them. There's going to be a certain, maybe a group of friends together, or there's previous history with neighbors, relationships with families that know each other. So that person could like you back and you have no idea. And it's very common in our culture that, if a guy likes a girl, he might never tell anyone, and the other way around, that they might like you as well. So what's the worst that could happen? They're going to say no, like, oh, it's all right. I mean, and it's not going to be awkward unless you make it awkward. But I don't think anyone should ever hold back, liking someone, seeing how they live, seeing how they are, and approaching them. It's not easy. It takes courage, but just get up and do it. Like, it's really simple. Yeah.
I'll
oh my god,
I'll do it from the female perspective as the receiver of
So-
usually.
that's
Usually. No, I'm gonna say as in from my examples as being a receiver.
Yeah.
So I've been asked out from people that I did not have interest in, and I'm very politely would just be like I'm sorry, I just don't see you that way, and I don't think I can for whatever reasons, and I'm happy to explain those reasons. but I always like make sure that it doesn't change anything. And usually it would be like a friend or whatever. And I've said to them, like, you are like a brother, and unfortunately that's how it's going to have to stay. But it doesn't ever change anything. I don't look any differently about them. I don't go and tell the whole world that it happened. Like, it's just that happened and it's not right and it's fine. And then on the other hand, there's been times where I've been asked out and I've gone out and it was fine. I was happy to accept that and it didn't go anywhere and it doesn't change anything either. Like, you just have to be in a position. And I think this goes back to the very first point. If you understand yourself and you're independent with yourself, the consequences of a failed relationship or like attempted relationship shouldn't destroy you, because you should know yourself well enough that, okay, it didn't work. That's okay. Like, obviously God has got a bigger plan. Let's move it behind. And then going back to the thing, yes, girls can ask guys out, of course. Like, I have no issue. We met on a site where girls initiate. And actually what happened with Ralph, and I'll like expose us a little bit, was it was Mum's 50th around that time. And he had tried to call me. Ralph had tried to call me, or had asked to call me. And we were like doing stuff for Mum. So I didn't see the messages till the following day. And I felt pretty bad that I had missed the messages. And I was the one who said, actually, how about we go out and we go on a date? Like, we'll go for a walk or whatever. So, like, look at us. Technically, if you really want to break it down to it, I asked Ralph out to go out. So, not like Ralph obviously initiated a lot of the conversation and the initial parts, but if I didn't say, because Ralph told me now after the fact that if I didn't like make some sort of effort after missing that phone call, that maybe our relationship would have ended there, because he didn't feel like I was putting any effort into him. Is that right?
It wasn't, just to clarify, it wasn't all because he didn't respond in time. I understand people get caught up, but
no, but
from
you know
the
what
conversation, I mean, you said something, I'm too busy now, I don't have time. And I was like, well, if you don't have time for this, then maybe forget about it. From my perspective, I was like, if that person's not really ready, I'm not going to force it. And I guess, Jeanette came back and she was nice enough to respond, and what happened. Yeah. I think what I wanted to ask you,
me or Jonah?
You.
It's cute.
Jonah, you want to leave me in my
say you, and this is a question, like, I kind of know the answer, but I just want you to say the answer from your perspective.
Are you trying to trap me on the camera?
So let me ask the question.
Sure.
Say you were single, you're in a group of friends, and a guy approached you and asked you out and you said no. Or he approached you, he asked you out, you went out in secret, didn't tell anybody, and the relationship didn't lead anywhere. Would you go and tell your friends about other situations? And if you do, or if not, why would you?
If you ask me out in front of the friends?
No,
like take you...
Like on your chat, or when you go out with the girls, oh, this guy asked me out and I said no, and I don't think he's right. Or, oh, I just went out with this guy and, you know, I didn't like him and we just broke up or just ended it.
It depends on the friends. Like, I have no issue telling my friends, but not in like a gossipy way. It would just be like, hey, this is what's happened to me, or because it's still it still impact me. Like, oh, I went out with this guy and I realized that I'm not interested in this because of this. It's not like I'd go, oh my gosh, you know what just happened? But like, no, maybe when I was younger.
Do you feel that would have any negative impact on that person's ability to maybe try? I mean, obviously he could try going out with someone else.
Yeah, it would also depend on, like, it was just like one date or a couple of dates.
Say you went out for 3 weeks or a month and it just didn't work out. Nothing bad happened. It
would also depend on what he wants. Like, we could have that conversation. Is this something that you want to keep between us? Is it something that you're okay with if I share? It would definitely just have to come down to that. You'd have to have that conversation, especially if you're in the same circle. If he was a random person, then I have no issue like talking to my friends. Like, oh, I met this guy. We went out for a bit. Like, they don't know who he is.
I think Ralph's meaning like if they're in the same circle. Right?
If it's in the same circle, then you have to have that conversation.
Exactly.
Are you happy? Sorry, I didn't understand you meant in the same circle. Yeah, you have to be like, is this something that we want to keep private? Or is this something that you're okay with me to share with my closest friends so that I can process what we've gone through? Like, yeah, you have to have that conversation. But I think it's better to keep it to yourself.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was trying to lead the conversation. I just wanted to hear it from your perspective how you would deal with it.
Oh, sorry. I had like an image of like someone walking up to you random.
No, it's because I've seen, people from both, guys and girls in a church or in a certain environment or a large group of friends, where, they try to go with one person, that doesn't work, but there's other potentials. And I think breaking that trust or spreading that, incident that happened to that person, could have negative impact on both ends. So I think it's good to mention that, it's really important to keep things to ourselves some points and
100%,
not just
yeah.
go out and,
I fully agree.
Yeah. Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you meant like a random person.
That's all good. Yeah, no, yeah, should have elaborated.
So Jeanette, you this is a very narrow point, but you said that you said no to some people. I'm not going to say ask who, but
Don't do that.
but why did you not give them a chance to like just go out on a date or whatnot?
There were people, like the ones that asked were people that had been in my life for a long time that I knew very, very well.
Okay.
And I knew that it wasn't something that I was interested in. So it wasn't like someone that I casually knew. It was someone that I knew very,
very well, yeah,
very
okay.
deeply, like brother level. So I was like, you have taken that role as a brother, and I know you, and I know how we would be, and it wouldn't work. And he understood that straight away. He's like, yeah, I get it, because I just thought I'd shoot my shot.
Yeah, fair enough.
And he was very quick to just be like, yeah, nah, totally get it. Like,
but if they're not like brother level, would you give them a shot? If they're a bit like, if they're like casual?
Yeah. There was only like, it was only if they were really, really close, and I knew them on that intimate, like family level. Yeah.
Yeah, it's harder to do with someone that you build a brother-like relationship, or
Yeah, of course,
that type of relationship. They're two very separate avenues, and it's really hard to jump from one to another. Some might make it work, but going from spending time with a person and acting with them like you care for them like they're part of family, and then jumping to the other boat where then another relationship. In many cases, it's hard for some people to go from point A to point B. Another thing a lot of people consider is, all right, this person is a very close friend. They're like a brother to me. They're like a sister to me. I'm going to assess, all right, if I want to ask them out, is it worth me asking them out just because I have a very sensitive feeling that it might work out and then destroy everything? Because at the end of the day, at this point, the risk is I'm not going to ask someone out and they're going to say no. I could also damage a 10, 15-year-old relationship or friendship with that person. So a lot of times it's that.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue
that we're looking at.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue. And what you said before, like in a circle, like in just inner circles and like church settings and whatnot, it's I think those two things are the biggest killers. Obviously, like someone that well that you don't want to make anything awkward between you two, or it's there's a bit of maybe gossip or whatever it is around, where it's like this guy has been with this girl, so they're sort of written off in people's minds, which I think is so tragic. Because if I went out with the girl, I would, and it didn't work out, I would hope that obviously with wisdom and maybe some time, that I would be able to approach someone else without any of those issues.
Should be. And that's part of the reason I mentioned that earlier, was because I've seen it happen, and I strongly encourage that when things, especially in a church setting, where we're encouraged to, develop relationships with people within the church or other churches and Christians, to be mindful that if one person dates another person and it doesn't work out, there has to be an agreement that this is kept a secret or kept on the hush low, because because that could really damage the overall circle they're in, or just their their ability to be with someone else.
Jonah, can I say something? With the situation about like, okay, you're so close to someone and you don't want to ruin that friendship. I think we have a bit of a culture issue where guys and girls are, and this is going to be very controversial.
It's okay.
Guys and girls are too friendly.
I agree.
Yeah, very, very friendly.
By the way, I agree, but I'm also an issue. Like,
Yeah. So when you, I don't,
very friendly or brotherly. It's like
no, too friendly.
friendly.
okay.
Yeah. So, Tim Keller in the 90s did a 10-part series on relationships and marriage. It's really, really good. It's like on Spotify, go find it. It's fantastic. I binged it in a few days. And one or two of the sermons are about friendship and how friendship should lead to relationship, and how it's a lot. There's a lot involved in the series, but there's like two kind of main points. Is that your partner should be your best friend, and so as a result of that, you shouldn't have best friends of the other sex or friends of that significantly closeness. But like before that point, for you to get into a relationship with someone, you should build some level of friendship. So when you are building these really, really strong friendships with people from the other sex and you have no intention of taking that to a relationship level, you are automatically going to risk ruining that friendship, because you shouldn't be having those friendships unless the intention is for a relationship. It's very controversial. You shouldn't have, I don't know, you're not agreeing with me, but you shouldn't have that like deep personal, like exposing your soul type of relationships with people of the other sex if you do not have some sort of forethought that this may be someone that I will potentially be in a relationship with. Because then if you do go down that avenue and it doesn't work, you have to know that that was a risk. So unless you're willing to risk that friendship, you shouldn't have it.
There's one thing. There's another topic that was covered from memory, because also binged that same series, and quite a lot of sermons. They're just amazing. But I remember him mentioning something about, yes, your partner is your best friend, but having, let's say you're my best friend, I'm a guy, or a man, you're a woman, and I have another woman who's also a best friend. So now, what is your best friend to me if I also have another best friend who I'm not married to from a different relationship? That's all. What is the other part of conflict? So it's before getting into a relationship, and it's also while being in a relationship, being mindful of how much of a friendship you have with other, I have with other women compared to you. And examples go down to, I had a problem at work. Do I come to my best friend to talk about it? Would it be you as my best friend or my best friend outside of marriage? And if I go to my best friend outside of marriage, I'm in a way cheating. Yeah. Because I should be coming and speaking to you about it, because you're my, wife and my best friend.
But saying that if your best friend was a man, like you should be able to go to that man without.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So
we're talking about best friends of opposite sex.
That's what I'm saying, though. But you realistically shouldn't have a best friend that is of the opposite sex. I should be able to go to one of my guy friends for sure. If I'm married, obviously I don't know, but I should be able to go to my guy friend for sure. But if I went to my girlfriend, then that's messed up.
Yeah,
sure. I've seen many situations, and there's this. I know a couple who got married, and the guy's best man was a woman, like his best friend, and it was fine. There's nothing wrong with that for them, or I don't see anything wrong with that myself. For them, they could do whatever they want. Like, I'm not gonna say that's wrong and you should be doing it, but that person already had a very close friend who happened to be a woman, but then he found the love of his life, and now that person is his best friend. And I know that person holds his wife as his new best friend. Yeah. And that person is a childhood friend. She's his best friend, but not as best as his friend, wife best friend. I
think that will happen like all the time. It should happen. Yeah, like it's there. I think that's what Jeanette was saying there. I think, or Tim Keller.
Same. She's joking.
Well,
Just joking.
It's fine.
I love him. He's my best
Marry
friend.
him.
He's not alive anymore. I was just gonna say this.
You know, don't worry.
I'll actually, if you send it to me or if you tell me what it's
Yeah.
called,
I'll link his sermons, and then there's also
I'll put it in
his
the
book.
link if I remember. What was I gonna say? I think what Jeanette was saying was, I can't remember now. My brain.
Watch the recording.
Best
It's
friends.
being recorded.
Best, yes. I think if you sort of have a, like, if let's say I have a girl best friend, and then I find a wife, then obviously that girl best friend is not going to be my best friend anymore. But that's why, from what I understand, Jeanette or Tim Keller was saying you shouldn't actually have a girl best friend outside of marriage, even, because then it's just like, it's not going to happen anyway. Like you should be trying to get into a friendship to actually seek relationship.
Correct.
Um,
That's Tim Keller's whole thing, is that your intimate friendships should be the ones that are leading you towards relationships. So if you're having intimate friendships outside of your relationship, then where is it leading? That's the whole idea. But rewinding back to the whole dating thing, two things. One, stop having intimate friendships with people of the opposite sex unless you have intention to date that person. And second of all, that's a really good way of getting in. If you were saying, like, what's a good way of asking someone out? Well, if you don't already have that friendship, then start that friendship. Yeah. Initiate that conversation. It doesn't have to be straight away going and asking somebody out. But I've said it to you before. I don't care. I'll be honest. Like, I've told you, why don't you just message that girl? Start a conversation. You don't have to be doing anything, but show that intention that you want to develop a friendship, because friendships are built in an opposite sex relationship way. Friendship should be leading towards relationship. And I'm not talking about just your general friends, like male friends, but I'm talking about those intimate friendships where you're speaking constantly, you're sharing yourself. Those type of friendships should lead to relationship.
Sorry, but I disagree.
About what?
I think building a friendship with someone, you're friend zoning them, meaning you're eliminating the romantic path.
Not necessarily.
I mean, you can become friends with someone and then you go out in a group setting and then you ask them out to go out on your own. I mean, it could work. I'm not saying it's bad, it's wrong, but I don't remember ever befriending someone before asking them out. I never had a friend who became a girlfriend, and I don't think there has to be that prerequisite.
It doesn't have to be. No, I'm not saying you have to. I'm saying that's a good way. Is if you have that friendship, you should be considering, is it?
Are you saying, like, it's pretty much like the reason to get into a friendship with the opposite sex?
And if you are struggling, then you can develop a
It's
friendship.
very controversial, very hot take, but
it's really hard to befriend someone and then get into a relationship with them, because again, as when you befriend them, we're trying to be their friend, you're friend zoning them from the start, which is a big
yes and no, because I've gone out with friends that have been friends that have led into
I'm not
dates.
saying it's impossible, but you're not with these friends, are you?
Touché.
Yeah.
Maybe we could have been friends.
So on this topic, I think a big issue that I've seen, and I've been the problem, was actually, like, if I am being friendly to everyone, and then I am suddenly interested in someone, they're not going to know, or they're not going to have any signs that I'm interested in them, because I'm being friendly to her and everyone else around her.
That's why you got to do what Ralph said, and you just got to ask them out. Whereas my tactic works if you don't have a friendship with them. But
friendly to a certain extent. Obviously, you want to love everyone and all that kind of stuff. But, like, I think it comes to, like, am I texting everyone? Am I texting, like, everyone that I know? Like, or am I texting just this one? Like, am I actually singling this person out because she means more to me at this current stage than everyone else?
That's how it should be. If you're having her interest.
But I think a common issue, and like I said, for myself, for the people around me as well, like, I see everyone is just, it's a common thing that everyone's friendly to everyone. So there's no clear, it's all blurred lines. It's all like,
Yeah, but that might just be like a face-to-face situation. It's what happens during the week. Are you constantly talking to each other one-on-one? Those things are developing that friendship.
Yeah.
That's showing interest.
But
as well.
that's what I'm saying. I fall into that trap though, of like I've done that to a lot of people.
Okay, girls.
I didn't.
If Jonah messages you during the week, catch on.
Yeah,
so
that's
this
right.
is where I go back to something I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation. You like someone, you want to approach them.
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. But before that's step number 2. Step number 1 is, hypothetically looking in the mirror and saying, okay, if I want to be with that person, why would that person want to go out with me? What do they want? Do I represent myself as someone who's ready to be in a relationship? As a man, for example, if we talk about yourself or the other guys in the church or anywhere else, they want to be with a woman. Okay, what does woman want? What does girl want? If I don't have my schnitzels together, if I don't have my base covered, if I'm still lost and confused and I don't know where I'm going to be in the next couple of years in my life. From another perspective, we need to consider as well that women or girls want, stability, safety. Some want just another guy. Some want a Prince Charming. So the first step is not approaching them. The first step is, am I the kind of person they want to be with? If not, why? Or do I hold the traits and characteristics that a girl would like?
Vodi Barkham, another preacher, I listened to a sermon about, I think, manliness or something, and he said, think about it like this. Would you want your daughter to date someone like you? And I was like, that's like the perfect way to put it. It's like, if I had a daughter and they were 24, would I let them or would I want them to be with someone like Jonah now? And it's a good way to self-reflect, and it's like, oh,
very good.
He has really good sermons, by the way.
Yeah, I love him. Yeah. We haven't even reached the relationship part.
We're at the pre-relationship. How long has it been?
It's been 50 minutes.
50? All right, let's buckle in. We haven't even got to the hard part yet.
All right. So we spoke about being ready. We spoke about approaching. I still have so many questions about approaching, but sorry.
Listen, if you want to approach a girl, ask us. We'll give you the tips. Ralph will give you the tips. I'll go speak to her. We'll sort it out.
Okay, thanks.
Is that Jonah or is that general?
Everybody.
Okay, so we're now we're the wing people.
Because I have a question, but it's a bit of a hot take question.
All right, hot take.
Well, last question about this, but you mentioned texting, of like asking someone out. Do you think that's a good way to approach things? Or?
That's the least. I'm not gonna say it's the most
intrusive. I'm
just gonna say texting is the worst way you could do it. If they're overseas and they don't have roaming and you can't call them, and you just want to call them out before they hop on a plane and possibly come back to their ex. Okay, but just walk up to them. Approach them. Hey, how's your day been? Good.
Yeah.
You were at church. Oh, how was that sermon? Whatever it is, just a conversation starter. Don't start your conversation with, oh, it's nice weather today. But, I've been thinking about this and I would like to ask you out for lunch or even a coffee if,
Yeah, on that, like, I don't think you have to be like, can I go on a date with you? Like, it can be, hey, you have, like, I'd like to grab a coffee. Let's go have a coffee. It's much more casual, or let's go for a walk, and still implying the same thing without putting the pressure on someone that, oh my gosh, we're going on a date.
Like if let's say Jen and I are not married today and I want to ask Jen out, and last week there was a para Eels and Bulldogs game. I'd say, hey, let's go watch the game. You want to go watch the game tonight? Like, what's that person interested in?
The game.
One person might like paint and sip, or other people would like pasta making classes, whatever it is. Find their interest and say, hey, how about we do this activity together? Activities are one of the best ways to break the ice. Don't ask them out for a movie. because you're gonna sit there awkwardly and maybe hold hands if you know.
Hold hands already. Far
Yeah,
out.
don't. Not a movie, not a maybe restaurant, not the beach. But
Alright, beach is okay.
I know, but a lot of people aren't comfortable.
Oh
being
yeah,
at
yeah.
a-
Don't
you
go to
know,
the beach.
Yeah, just find something interesting and
Yeah.
ask them if they'd like to join you.
Going for a walk is really good.
Yeah.
Walk is probably the best. That's how we started. Just going for walks.
Yeah, take them somewhere public so they don't freak out. Why is it
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, the reason why I bring that up is because I agree. Like, I think, again, hot take, but I think texting is like a coward's way out for a lot of people.
That's what didn't want to say. But yeah.
That's okay. You can say whatever. But the response I get from a lot of people is like, oh, but like, you got to think about the girl. It's like, it's easier for them and they can have time. There's no like pressure.
They can always say, "I'll get back to you in face to face." Like, they don't
I
have
know,
to give
but
an answer.
they're more likely not to. But in my head, like, I think you could look at me and be like, I sort of care for other people's feelings and stuff like that. But in that situation, I think, like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, if it's pressure or whatever, like, who cares?
If
Yeah,
they
yeah.
specifically-
Sorry,
if they specifically don't like you, then yeah, but that's not.
Well, you
very
don't,
often, is
yeah.
it?
The element of surprise can be used in your favor.
Yeah, like,
In the least
Yeah.
manipulative
Yeah.
way possible. Trust me, from my recent studies with my work, the element of surprise is really good at getting what you want.
Honestly, I'd be surprised, and like, sorry to share this, but like when I was younger, there was this girl at uni that I found, I liked her. I liked how she looked, and I didn't really know her well. And one day I just went on this random hike with this company that did hikes somewhere, and then I bumped into her, and then we're on the hike with everyone, with friends and stuff. And on the ride back on the bus, I look at her and was like, you know what? Do you want to go out for a date? And she's like, yes. And I'm not sure if I said it out loud, but I was like, really? I didn't expect it. And I was like, my very early 20s at the time. It's like, wow, like a pretty girl just said yes, you'll go out with me. And I thought to myself, like, all I had to do was just ask. I had no idea that she also had similar attraction to me. We're not together.
How did that go for you?
Lasted 2 weeks. But I mean, yeah. She
but you
traveled
did
to
it.
a different country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're on our separate lives.
you
but-
made her leave the country. That's crazy.
Side note, girls, ask out boys. It's fine.
that
Look,
too.
It
I
is
don't-
fine.
But
I don't even agree with that.
You don't agree with it?
No.
Whatever.
Because for me as a man, like, I just want you to make obvious to me that you're interested in me, but I feel like it's a bit masculine if you ask me out.
No, okay, fine. Girls,
Make it
tell
obvious
him
them.
to ask you out.
Yeah, literally do everything you can to tell him. I don't even know. These are the guys you want to
it's
listen to.
doable, but it's not very common in our culture. In the US, for example, I saw it was very, very common for girls to ask guys out. But in our culture here, especially if we look at our closer culture, which is, majority of, let's say, a lot of Lebanese, Jordanian, Syrians surrounded that Middle Eastern part of the world, it's very uncommon for girls to do it. But again, there's nothing wrong with it. Situations where, a girl finds out that this guy likes her, but he's shy to ask her out. There's nothing wrong with, inviting them out for, hey, let's grab a coffee after work.
Like Jonah said, even if you just hint it, stop trying to play games. No one likes games. In
Yeah.
that sense. What's next?
All right. So in the next stage is probably being together.
As dating or as married? Because it's very different.
I would say let's.
The dating part's fun. You just skip past it, get to the married.
We'll get to married. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dating can be another one.
No, because dating is you're just getting to know each other, you're having fun, you're going on dates.
It's interesting.
You are learning a lot, but marriage is where you really learn.
If there's anything I want to take from dating, it's when do you pop the question?
Interesting.
So, from your perspective, what did it take to feel that you're ready to be married to that person?
Like, as in, at what point did I realize, or?
I mean, what led you to realize that, okay, now I'm ready. If that person asks me, when that person asks me to marry them, I'm gonna maybe say yes.
I don't think this is the whole answer, but I think it's a part of the answer. It's the opposite thought is if I was to lose you today, how would I feel? And knowing that I couldn't live a day without you made me realize I wanted to spend every day with you.
Do you have any tissues?
Aww.
That's cute.
That's cute.
From a guy's perspective, I think I spoke about this on the last pod, the very censored pod, by the way. Knowing when, we'll pray about it. I think I said that like 10 times. But also, there's no point in wasting time. When you realize that that person is, as Jeanette said, they're your partner, you see there's a future, and then there's nothing holding you back. You're ready financially, mentally, emotionally, just go for it.
I don't think you'll ever be fully ready financially.
Yeah, that's another thing.
You'll never be ready financially.
Financially,
Unless you're like,
I mean, you want to be at a stage where, you know, there's, not talking about myself, but, you know, there's no debts or problems or other things. You can afford to buy that ring. You can start planning for the wedding. You're able to sustain this, you know, the future of the relationship.
Yeah, because once you get engaged, you're gonna get married ASAP.
I agree.
Yeah, you do not want that engagement to go for too long. I think we were engaged for like 9 months.
Yeah.
Not long.
We booked our venue for the wedding before we got married, before we got engaged.
Yeah, but that was like
COVID. Yeah, that was like circumstances,
Yes,
but that's how ready we were.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right, we're gonna get to the juicy part.
Yeah, I have so many questions.
All right, go ask.
I'm trying to think.
We can do like a rapid fire thing. All my Super Coach podcasts, at the end of them, they do like rapid fire. So you ask a question and we have like 15 seconds to answer. But you can do the marriage stuff. And then we'll do some rapid fire questions.
All right. Marriage.
You have a sound effect for a drum roll?
I actually do. I don't know which one it is, but I do. I actually don't know. I'm not going to try. It's going to be clapping or something.
I'm going to tell you. Does this work?
Yeah, what do you mean? Does it work? You've been speaking the whole time.
I just think I expected it to make sound back, and I'm like, it's not working. I will tell you my belief on the way to a successful marriage in like 2 sentences. You can disagree, but I don't think you will necessarily. Like just fundamental. Men need respect. Women need love.
I agree.
It goes both ways.
No, fundamentally, what we need, men need respect, women need love. If you find that you're having a fight and you go to the root of that fight, it's because he feels disrespected and she feels unloved.
Yeah.
That's the root of it.
Yeah.
Finished. Thank you so much for coming. Cyber subscribe and like.
Cyber subscribe. All right. No, okay, let's get into marriage.
We've been waiting for you to get into marriage.
What the heck? What was that? All right. So getting into marriage, what were like the fears going into it? What were the surprises? What were, I don't know, just like the good things, the bad things, the things that you learned the most?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you start.
How long do you have left? Now, as I said before, it's I mean, from my perspective, I was living alone for quite some time, and I did I cooked my cooking, I did my laundry, did everything, and then Jeanette moved from her, living with her parents. We both came from different lifestyles, so getting all that stuff, setting up, being in one house together, and this is very common, not just in our marriage, and it's very common in many marriages where, if I were to sum it up, there has to be compromise from both sides to combine one person's comfort zone with another person's comfort zone to create one comfort zone that's comfortable for both parties. So one very simple example, I'll be very transparent about this. I'm a big coffee person, and Jeanette has selective OCD. If you agree, sometimes not.
Certain
So
things, yes.
part of Jeanette's OCD is having things that don't match. So for example,
She gets
I
it
have
from
my-
mum.
No, I need everything to match.
Yeah, that's what she
Yeah,
means.
yeah.
You don't need.
But
you
no,
want
but
some
now I'm
everything.
good. Now I'm good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
That's- yeah.
I have my coffee long black, 3/4 full. If you're going to buy me coffee, so I
don't know what that
use-
means.
It's just a coffee of a cup of black coffee basically.
Oh, 3/4.
So
There you go.
and this is common in coffee drinkers. Today I want to have my coffee in a red cup with a handle, but tomorrow I want to have my coffee in a big 3D San Francisco mug, and the day after in a cup that I bought from Cambodia, and this goes on. So I have 4, 5, 6 at least 20 different types of coffee cups.
You should
but
take Jonah's mug.
Jeanette hates the fact that we have 12 cups that are white, but 20 that are
Not white.
they don't match. They're a different color. So we had this argument in the beginning. I was like, she's like, you have to throw them away because they don't match. And I was like, why do I have to throw them away? Why can't you just accept the fact that I have my coffee cups?
Mm.
And the compromise was I get to put them away in the cupboard so Jeanette can't see them. And Jeanette got over the fact that we have cups that don't match.
The compromise was I gave you a whole section of just your coffee stuff that I don't have to ever look at. But now I don't mind the mixed cups.
See, exactly. That's the thing. So that's
I got it.
now you don't mind them because
I bought you one.
Yeah,
It's added to
you
your
had
collection.
that, you sacrificed your OCD-ness on that part to make me happy. And for my part, for example, you wanted to do something your own way. And for me it was, no, that's wrong. It doesn't work. But then I was like, if that makes you comfortable, I'll just let it go from my side, be okay with it, and make you comfortable with that perspective. So a lot of the first 6 months, I'd say, was mainly us expressing how we feel about certain things and finding a middle. And then you get to a point where you walk into a house together, both feeling comfortable about everything that's in the house.
Mm. Would you say that? So I think everyone has heard like love is sacrifice and all that stuff. Would you say that you don't really experience that fully until you're married, like compared to like dating and that kind of stuff?
You don't have to really sacrifice anything apart from time when you're dating. But when you're married, you sacrifice your whole life. You sacrifice in every decision you make, you are factoring someone else. So a simple thing, and Ralph always is like, why are you calling me about this? Like I might be at work and something's happened and I have to do overtime. Pre-Ralph, okay, I have to do overtime. I never have to think about, does someone else come into the picture? Now it's like I have to call, not because I have to ask for permission, but because it is a sacrifice that he's going to have to make because I'm not going to be home, or I might be missing an event, or I might like whatever the case may be. So everything is a sacrifice now, and it's not a bad sacrifice.
That's good. Yeah,
it's a show of respect. It's a show of love. Like if I'm not, like I said, I'm not asking for permission, but I still run it past him in this example of overtime. Hey, is that all good with you? Because I don't have to do it. His answer is always the same. Like, just if you want to do it, if you do it, if you don't. But it's me respecting him and saying, I respect your time. And what do you feel about this? Like everything from big to small is sacrificial because you are no longer number one. In your, like, as in not like obviously there's God and stuff, but as in like your actions are not your own anymore. Your actions belong to your husband and his actions belong to me. What he does should be for my benefit and what I do should be for his benefit in everything. I think you agree.
Yeah. No, that's one way. Prioritizing is another. What are one person's priorities before marriage and after marriage as well? These change a lot.
Yeah.
It's good.
Sacrifice is a massive part in marriage, especially the first.
Yeah.
It's never gonna. You no longer have to sacrifice, and everything's good. It's sort of a
everything has been sacrificed.
You sacrifice a lot, and then you're always gonna have to sacrifice something. Some you have to sacrifice time. Maybe some people, some cases, ego. In some cases, some ways, beliefs, traditions, cultures, whatever it is. It's a massive list.
I think sacrifice is actually one of the biggest things that you have to get rid of when you
that you have to do.
Oh,
You
sorry,
have to do, yeah.
what did I say?
You have to go. Oh, you meant ego.
Ego. Sorry, ego is one of the biggest things you have to sacrifice, because, like I said, if you're putting yourself on this pedestal, then you're doing it all backwards. You have to sacrifice that whole idea of ego, and
ego destroys marriages. It ruins job, everything. It ruins friendships. Ego is poison in every circumstance. Worse in marriage.
Yeah, and like, again, because we love being oversharers, the biggest thing that Ralph might have an issue with me is the fact that I put my ego in the way and I struggle to apologize. Let's be honest. I have a hard time apologizing because of my ego, and that's what might cause attention. The issue that we're apologizing about might not having been significant. That can be forgotten about in a second. But until I'm able to put my ego aside and say, you know what, I am sorry. Ralph is very good at just being like, cool, like, thank you, it's done, like, that's it. But it's up until that point of me having to put my ego away. Ralph doesn't hold on to it. He'll just let it go because that's how it should be. But for me, like, I have to really, like, that's a sacrifice. I have to sacrifice my ego for the sake of our relationship.
Yeah. I think that's like, just in life, it's like apologizing or like admitting to something or whatever it is so much better than just not. Like, it makes it, like, I think most people, if you were to admit something to them or apologize for something, most people are likely to maybe not fully forgive, but forgive in like a certain extent. I think your husband would probably fully forgive, but like,
100%, and that's how it should be.
In life, I think that's massive. I have an interesting question. Now, this is that you wanted to build on that more.
No, I think it's very good.
I never really have heard anything about this, and I was curious. But do you think marriage got you close to God because you sort of understand, like, you understand Christ being the groom and the church being the bride, or like sort of that love more? Or is it just like standard, you sort of understand it beforehand?
No, I don't know about Ralph. The reason I think that I have gotten closer to God after getting married is like multiple factors. Is one, this is going to sound weird, you need it more. You need God more. Like, life gets a little bit harder.
You become more reliant on him.
Yeah, and so you have to really just like let go and rely on God more. Another thing is you have a full-time accountability partner who their responsibility is making sure that you're on the right track with Christ. Like, it's different from like a parent or a sibling. This is a person who's, waking up with you, going to bed with you, spending most of the day with you, like obviously outside of work. So you have that accountability partner. And another part is you see what that person is doing, and that encourages you to have a strong relationship. So Ralph started reading the Bible like from front to back, I don't know, like 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Maybe
in January.
March.
Yeah, okay, like at the beginning of the year. And he never said anything to me about like I should do it. He never told me, but I would see him like he does. Yeah, he set an example, and I'm doing it, but at a significantly slower pace. Like, he's doing it a lot faster than me, but it's an encouragement for me to go back over the Old Testament, for example, because he's doing it from the Old Testament stuff that because I usually just like read in the New, and so it's a reflection of what he's doing is causing my actions to change, and then like I said, accountability. Like, we get to the end of the night and it's like habit stacking. Have you heard of it before?
No.
So it's when you have a habit that already exists, when you do that habit, you add another habit to it, so that you just you manage to build a stack of habits. And we've built this habit stack that when we go to bed, there's like a system that now prayer is involved in that habit stack. Good. And we have to keep accountable to each other. So if one of us starts to go to sleep and is falling asleep, wake up, we need to pray. Like, this is the habit that we've developed. And then I think think Daniel Batase, when he came, he said something about this as well. Similar kind of concept of when you get married, yeah, you've got that like person whose job is to check on you and be like, why are you slipping away? Why aren't you going to church? Why aren't you praying? That all adds to what makes you, I guess, get closer or further. You can go both ways.
Yeah.
So marriage is a blessing from God, right? God joins two people in marriage into one. And then from then on, it's not just me and Jeanette. And we believe, or I believe as a Christian as well, Jeanette agrees that it's a 3-strand marriage. So, for 3 strands, it's us and Jesus in the middle. So when we get married, we're not only getting closer to God, God is becoming part of us and part of our relationship. And then when we build that relationship, we're building a house. We're building a house on a rock. We're not building it on sand. So part of starting marriage is, okay, now we have this unity and Jesus is part of this marriage, and Jesus has to be part of this, every single aspect of this marriage. Jesus has to be part of. And that's one of the factors that draws us nearer to God. So now God is with us in this marriage. The other perspective is, I was living in one house and I was living in one house. We both came into our house. So now this is our house, and now we have our responsibility to lead a godly house. We don't have kids yet. No spoilers. But we can't just build a house unless we have the foundation that Jesus Christ, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are the foundation of this house, and that's where we build. So when you factor all these things in, plus many more that I'm not going to mention, you automatically draw nearer to God. Another thing is, with marriage comes many blessings, and the more blessings you see, the more you realize that the presence of God is actually there. Plus all the
decisions.
No, joining a church, being a part of a church, being active in church, serving at church, all these things add to it. Praying together, growing together, reading together, all that. So there are multiple factors that, as a married couple, have drawn us closer to God. Unfortunately, in many cases, not all people see it that way. But I went to a wedding once, and part of the sermon was, Jesus Christ should always be part of your marriage. The minute he's not, your marriage will fail. And if we look at many failed marriages and we look at the reason why that marriage failed, is because the essence of God was not in that marriage. So I can't stress the importance of God being or Jesus being the third person in marriage, and all the other things just fall out one after the other.
I will touch on what you said a bit more specifically about how Christ and the bride and the church and stuff. I think it definitely does play a factor in the sense of roles, which is something that I'm sure maybe we're going to touch on as well.
Yeah, that's going to be the final thing, I think.
Yeah, so it leads into that. Because you want to know your role in your relationship and you want to do it the best you can, and the only way you can do it the best you can is by seeing the perfect example of it. Naturally, you're going to live a holier life because you're trying to imitate the relationship between Christ and the church, and obviously in this instance the husband and wife. I think that's kind of what you were touching on, because the role of a man and a woman these days just is very skewed.
Confused.
Yeah, and I've had plenty of conversations with people in the secular world who are shocked by some of the things I say when I'm like, no, I don't do that because I am the woman of the house. And they're just like, what? You're an independent woman and you work? And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. I'm the woman of my household. I have a man who leads me. And that's something that's very controversial. And this whole concept of what is a man, and I know that's been spoken about a lot recently because it's actually becoming a very, very big problem in society in general, and it's creeping into the church, and it's very dangerous because it's going to start affecting people's like marriages.
Mm.
If we don't have a clear understanding of gender roles in a relationship, then the relationship is doomed.
Yeah, I think you're referring to Ephesians chapter 5, verses 22 to
Get
33
it up?
and a bit beyond.
I don't know if
Where
it'll read
the
it,
Lord
get it up.
says, for the word of God says, women submit to your husbands as husbands submit to
The bride submits to the. What was it? Ephesians 5,
the head authority. Yep.
22. Yeah. Wives.
Jonah, how long have we gone for? Are we have good for time?
Yeah, an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay.
Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church. Do you make it going?
If you'd like to, but I mean, I'd encourage everyone watching to read that whole chapter.
Yeah,
focuses on gender roles. But as Jeanette mentioned, and this is something that I thought of while you were saying that. We tell people of the world this is how we do things. Like, no, you should do things that way. So my question to you, Jonah, the audience, okay, if the world wants to tell me how to live my life, how to be myself in my marriage, how to do life, I look at the world and the world is messed up, right? So in what situation are you in, world, to come and tell me what is right or wrong when you are so messed up, so skewed, so corrupt? Whereas I've built my foundations on the word of God, that's holy, from God, and eternal. So as a Christian, when people of the world come and tell me that I'm wrong, I look back at them and I subconsciously, like inside, I say, do you know better? Look at yourself. I'm not talking about specific people. I'm talking about the views of the world.
Yeah.
So it is very important to look at the word of God that we have in our hand. We're always going to be in a situation where people are going to throwing things at us. Oh, you're so traditional. You're so wrong. You're so conservative. Right, but what are you? Look at yourself. You're corrupt. You're broken families. Why? Broken marriages. Why?
Yeah.
Corrupt systems. Why? What's your source? What's your what is your source of knowledge? Where has it led you? What is the outcome of your knowledge for you to come and tell me how to do my life, how to live my life? So that's my perspective of when people from the world come and tell me that I'm wrong. I look back at them and say, are you better? Are you doing something right?
Yeah.
I think statistics will speak for themselves. I think if you look at the world these days and the divorce stats, it is like, I don't even know what it is anymore, but it's crazy high. And if you look at back in the day when the gender roles were much more prominent, the divorce rates were so low.
Yeah.
Like
It went
compared
from
to
12 or under 20 to like over 70%, something like that.
it's just so out of whack.
Fact check me, but it's ridiculous.
It's out of whack.
That's where I go back and ask, how many of these marriages that failed, Jesus Christ was truly the third person in that marriage?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Do you have questions?
I was going to ask, just I think to end the things off. I want to speak about gender roles more, but we don't really
it's
much
fine.
time.
Don't stress. Like, unless you have a time.
I don't have a time, but I feel bad.
What time is it, Rob?
It's probably 8:30.
8:35.
Okay, we can go for a bit.
Right.
Do you care?
Another 10 maybe?
Yeah. We won't go for too long. But just to clarify, what would be the gender roles? Like, maybe you don't have to go specifically, but like in your life as a man and as a woman, like what are your roles? Like, not specifically, not like.
How about this, Ralph? You say what you think the woman's role is, and I'll say what the man's role is, and we'll see if we agree.
Well, What, do you want to cover all the roles or just
like give an overview of what you think.
Well, let's go back to scratch where, God created man and woman and how he created man and woman. If we look at, in general, women are built to be more emotional, more sensitive. They do certain things better than men and the other way around. Men are built with a certain set of characteristics that make them men. So when we ask or look back and see how God created man, how created woman, and we fall back and say, okay, so God gave women these roles of, why were they made emotional? How does that play a role in them being mothers? Why were men masculine, built to hunt, built to be, figuratively speaking, warriors, protecting their families, going out hunting, all that stuff. So my idea of what a woman's role is and what a man's role is written in the Bible.
Give a few examples.
Or
do you want me to talk?
A few examples. I mentioned the role of the woman emotionally in being a mother.
Like nurturing.
Nurturing, of course, being a mother, nursing, nurturing, showing love and affection. From a man's perspective, some may be thinking jumping into discipline, all that, but I mean, from a father's perspective, that fatherly love, that fatherly figure. Because when we go back and look at disruptive societies or issues in general, we look back and see the root of these issues because that person's father was not there for them, or that person's mother was not there for them in their specific roles. So I can't stress enough on identifying that, okay, so men's roles are being the father figure, the hunters of the family, the warriors of the family, and women's roles in terms of the motherly aspect. And then we go back to Ephesians again, one person having to submit to the other, because if they don't, there's going to be a clash. We covered that in a previous episode. So the men's role is to lead, the women's role is to submit, and submitting doesn't mean do what you're told. It's the same way, man's meant to submit to God, and as the head of the house, women have to respect the authority in the house, and that's part of the role as well. So
yeah, I think it kind of goes back to the thing I said right at the beginning about respect and love. We respect our husbands as the authority, and he loves us in a sacrificial way.
Yeah.
It all comes back down to that. That's, I think, the summary. I think if you're going to ask about roles, the man's role is to lead, to be the decision maker, and people think that's like putting the woman down. I'm happy to not be the decision maker. I will put my hand up and say, you take that burden, because the responsibility falls on you, and that's huge. Like, I don't know why women huff and puff about it. Like, take me back to the day where I did have to stay at home and make bread and clean the house. I'd be so happy. I would rather do that than work. But these days, obviously, it doesn't work like that. But yeah, it's the man's role to be the provider as well. And that doesn't just mean like going out and working, because we work as well, but making sure that our household is in order in terms of like finances, and is everything in order. Like a woman's role might be making sure the physical house is in order. Obviously Ralph helps me with chores, and we sometimes he cooks, sometimes I cook. That's irrelevant. But at the end of the day, it's very likely that when we have kids, I'm going to be at home with the kids, taking care of that home while he's out being the provider. And then there's also an element here where you like step into masculinity versus femininity. His role is to be masculine in the house. Like, I shouldn't, like, I like doing things and getting my hands dirty and whatever, and building something. I don't care. Like, I'm happy to do that. But I don't do it in a masculine way. And Ralph doesn't go around like prancing around the houses in a feminine way.
That'd be so funny to watch.
Like,
it's very common nowadays.
Yeah, it is. And that's the problem. Sure. Our men, like, we have this issue with like, what is a man? And we're forgetting, everyone's like, yeah, but what is a man? What is a man? what is the definition of masculinity? Like, forget all of that. I'm telling you right now, men, listen, if you want to take one thing from me, single guys, I don't know any girls who want to be with a guy that is more feminine than them. It's the biggest turnoff. We want masculine men. We want a man who, when we are emotional or when we are down or when we are confused or when we are lost or when we need guidance, that man will step up with authority. He'll make a decision.
I think it's innate as well. Like,
Yeah.
people might not think that they would want that. Just like me, like, I could say that, I want someone that, I was going to say plays football or something. Like, I don't know what. I could say that, but innate in us, I think it's natural for a woman to want someone that shows masculinity. That shows, like, when the rubber hits the road, like, I'll be protecting you.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be the guy there.
Yeah.
With masculinity, I want to just clarify one thing. Masculinity, I mean, I know that's not what you meant, but as general clarification, masculinity isn't grabbing an axe and chopping wood, or being on the rugby league, or going to the gym, lifting weights. That's not masculinity. Masculinity is respect, love, authority, holding responsibility, being a protector, being a hunter for the family, providing for the family, protecting the wife and the kids. And when you say girls don't want more feminine, or, you know, as feminine men, it's not that they want this rugged looking man with a beard, bald head, tattoos, or whatever. It's nothing to do with appearance or action. It's more of, or it is actually actions, but it's not the appearance. It's more of, women want men where they feel safe, and men have to be masculine. And when we say masculine, we're talking about their characteristics of a true man. And today, when we say a man, isn't just a male who's grown up. A man is someone who holds the characteristics of a man. You know, someone who can imperfectly be able to control their anger, be able to be there when things go south, be able to handle situations when there's trouble, danger, whatever it is. So
yeah, I agree.
I guess a lot of the misconception of masculinity is so skewed. And to add more of a challenge to it today is we see a massive attack from the world on masculinity.
It's fine.
Okay. So we're seeing a massive attack on masculinity today, specifically some very smart and highly educated people doing posts on social media saying, men between the age of 16 and 22 are toxic men because of things they watch, or because of gaming, whatever it is. And they're just, this attack on masculinity is like, we're falling into this era where men aren't knowing how to be men, and because they're not knowing how to be men, the idea of masculinity has been so misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree with you.
Really, like, I advise people to really look into the true meaning of masculinity and what it is to be a man and a masculine man.
Yeah, I agree. But I also think there is an element where a woman wants a man who is able to do those physical things.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And that's very much lacking. Like,
but if he can't, because I'm only going to say that because there are men out there who aren't capable or don't have time for it.
No, I understand.
Because you can always hire someone to do these things.
Yeah, I'm not saying I need you to go build me a house, but
I
don't also want you to, like...
It's not the skill, it's the like
mentality. Yeah.
Mentality.
But it does come down to the way you present yourself. You said it's not just a physical thing. It can be a physical thing if you are more feminine in your action and in the way you talk and in the way you move your hands. And like, let's hint at what I'm hinting at. If
we're talking
I don't know
about
how black and
flamboyancy,
white I can be.
Men shouldn't be flamboyant.
Yeah, that's it.
If that's what you're trying to say. And it is a turn off for women who want to be with men. That's 100% true. But I just wanted to touch on the true meaning of masculinity and being a man.
Yeah, I agree. But we also, like, I think safety was a big thing that you said. We want to feel safe with a man. Like, you want to know that if
anything happens,
if the house burns down today, that I'm okay because he's going to protect me and he's going to make sure everything's going to be okay.
And the funny thing is, I don't know if I speak for you, but for me, like that's like the like this is like what I think about a lot, and it's just like a weird thing I think about. But like, if people were to attack me when like my girlfriend's there or something, like how would I respond? And like it's sort of like it's gonna sound so weird, but it's like excites me a little bit, the fact that I can actually put my body on the line for someone that needs it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's happened with Ralph. We won't go into details, but someone was like a bit mental health issues and was walking down the street and had a go at me, and Ralph turned into a different person. He didn't do anything to the guy.
Yeah.
Because obviously within a few seconds we realized the guy just had some mental health issues. But the way he stood up to protect me was exactly what I needed. He didn't have to do anything, but I knew that he stepped in between me and this person who was trying to have a drama with me. And just by putting himself between us and kind of like, he just became you just became like 7 feet tall instantly. Like, you didn't have to you just got that aura of like, this is who I'm protecting.
Yeah.
It's the intention. And the reason I mention, or I say what I'm going to say, is sometimes guys are in a situation where they're faced by someone a lot bigger than them, or someone they can't handle, or sometimes they're not experienced in fights and they don't know what to do. And there's nothing wrong with grabbing your girlfriend and walking the other way and running away. There's nothing wrong with not facing that person. It's just that the intention of, I'm protecting you.
Yeah, that's right.
Even
that's
if I'm not throwing a punch or going back at the person.
Don't throw a punch.
Yeah, that's the worst that could happen. But protecting that person could also mean, let's go away right now. Like, take them away to a safer place. That's more than enough to.
Yeah.
I'll give you the smallest example of how Ralph protects me every single day, and it's
spiders or something, cockroaches.
No. You know what I'm gonna say? It's the positioning of where we sleep in the bed. Everywhere we go, it doesn't matter if it's in our house or if it's at a hotel or wherever it is.
Oh yeah, I can too.
He always sleeps on the side closest to the door. Not because he's trying to show off, and it's because he knows if anything happens, he's there closest to the door. And like, should I say the Lebanon story? Yeah. So when we were in Lebanon, we were at his parents' place in South Lebanon, and I went to bed and I went to the side not closest to the door out of habit, and which was next to the window. And he told me, no, you sleep on the other side. I need to sleep there. I said, no, that's not how this works. You need to protect me. Sleep next to the door. And he kind of just said, Jeanette, please just sleep on the side next to the door. A couple of times. And then he said, Jeanette, I need to sleep next to the glass. And then it took me all of like 1 second to realize that we were in South Lebanon. There'd been some bombings, and he needed to sleep next to the window because if something happened, he was the first to go.
First line of defense.
Yeah. I was avoiding telling her because I want her to scare. I'm not going to buy my spot. Yeah, it's true.
It's those little things that make a difference. Yeah. That's a man.
That's a mentality.
You can think, okay, if we're in a war zone technically, and if there's a bomb that's going to land, I need to be the one that's going to be between that bomb and her.
Yeah.
You have to think of it at that extreme. That's what he did. He put his life between me and thank goodness, but there was no bomb, but the potential bomb.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I think it's all like a mental thing, and it's so cute. It's even like, it's just the decision making. Like, if someone does approach you, like, you understand that you are supposed to be the one that makes a decision. You're the one that's supposed to take control of the situation, whether it is just running away, whether it is like staunching or whatever it is. Like, it's on the man. Jeanette should never be the one to make the decision or staunch or whatever it is. Like,
yeah. Although it is worth to mention that if
Jeanette might be able to do that, but
it is always worth mentioning that the best way to deal with a fight is to avoid a fight.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So
I want to just add one more thing about being a man, and a good man is also knowing where your weaknesses are, and acknowledging where the woman might have strengths, and saying, okay, you know how to deal with this well. I'm going to let you either explain that to me or take the lead on that. Doesn't mean they're making the decisions, but like, we have things in our relationship where I am more equipped in understanding about, like obviously things related to the law. Maybe I might know a little bit more than Ralph. And so he can come to me and be like, we've got this situation. What do we do? Because of you
course.
have those expertise. Is that fair to say?
And that's where the ego also comes in question. Like that in some cases, people on both sides have to drop their ego. So I'm not gonna go like, oh no, I'm the man, I know better. I'm not gonna ask her, even though she's in the law, and take care of it. I have to drop my ego, and you know what, my wife knows better than this. And same for my wife, or from the woman's side, they think they know better than something, but their husband is better at it, even though it's their role or their job. They have to drop their ego and console the other person.
Absolutely.
Do you have rapid fire questions? There was something you were going to ask right at the beginning. Do you remember?
No, I said already.
Okay.
You covered it. We've been going for like an hour 40 already, so we'll just.
Unless you have any like burning questions.
No, it's alright. Well,
if you guys do have questions, just message Jonah in the podcast.
No one ever doesn't say anything.
No, but just send your message. Or like most people who watch this would know us.
If anyone has anything to discuss, it can be another episode.
That's true.
So put your hands up for an episode.
Anyway, thank you guys. I don't know how we got into masculinity at the end, but it's okay.
This is driving me crazy.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's important to mention that the masculinity they're talking about is not masculinity.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's no such thing as toxic masculinity, because once a person is toxic, they're no longer masculine.
Yeah.
And it goes same for women. For me, a definition of woman isn't someone who's toxic. So you can't be toxic and a woman, you're either or. So there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's something as a toxic child who's not a masculine man.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next week.
Wait, you have to tell people to like and subscribe.
I haven't done that in so long.
You guys have to like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Why is this like this? Down.
No, like where's the button? Is it there?
Probably under me.
So like and subscribe.
I don't know, somewhere under there. But thank you guys, and thank you all for watching, and peace.
See ya.